He was a cook, not a soldier, untrained for war. But when Japan attacked, he grabbed a machine gun and changed history forever. December 7th, 1941 was supposed to be another peaceful morning at Pearl Harbor, Hawaii. The sun was rising, sailors were just waking up, and the massive U.S. Pacific Fleet rested quietly in the harbor. Among thousands of servicemen aboard the battleship USS West Virginia was a 22-year-old African-American mess attendant from Waco, Texas, Doris Dorie Miller. The U.S. Navy at the time did not allow black sailors to take combat roles, so Miller was assigned kitchen duty, serving food and cleaning officers' quarters. But Miller was not an ordinary man, standing 6 feet 3 inches tall with a powerful athletic build. He had been a champion high school football player and a heavyweight boxing prodigy who often won matches using strength alone. Still, in the eyes of the Navy, he was only meant to cook, not fight. But history had other plans. At 7:48 a.m., the silence exploded. Dozens of Japanese Zero fighter planes ripped through the sky like sharpened metal hawks, dropping bombs, firing rounds, and turning Pearl Harbor into hell. The first torpedo struck the USS West Virginia, causing a violent blast that shook everything. Sleeping sailors were thrown off bunks. Sirens screamed, steel groaned, fire erupted. In that moment, chaos consumed the harbor. Miller, who had been working in the galley preparing breakfast, didn't hesitate. He sprinted through smoke and confusion toward the deck. His training told him to stay in service areas. His instincts told him to act. First, he helped carry wounded sailors to safety, including the ship's mortally injured Captain Mervyn Bennion, dragging his heavy body through smoke and collapsing debris while enemy planes fired overhead. He laid the captain down and respectfully stayed by his side until there was nothing more to be done. All around him, machine guns rattled, bombs exploded, and young men died without even getting the chance to fight back. That was the moment Miller decided he wouldn't die unarmed. With no combat training and no orders, Miller ran toward an anti-aircraft gun mounted on the deck, a Browning .50 caliber heavy machine gun, a weapon so massive it normally required training and a crew to operate. He had never been taught how to use it. But watching Japanese planes diving toward helpless sailors lit a fire in him. He grabbed the twin handles, looked into the gun sights, and turned rage into action. His hands shook, not from fear, but from responsibility. He pulled the trigger. The gun erupted like thunder. Shockwaves punched through the air as red tracer rounds launched toward the sky. Nearby sailors stared in disbelief. A cook, firing back at the Empire of Japan. Miller aimed at the screaming metal birds diving in to slaughter his brothers. He fired again, and again. Brass shells rained around his feet like hail. Witnesses would later swear he hit at least one plane, possibly more, sending them spiraling into smoke. Others said his barrage forced Japanese pilots to break formation, preventing further destruction. In a battle where America was ambushed while asleep, Miller became one of the first Americans to fight back. Minutes felt like hours. The deck was boiling hot, coated with fuel, smoke, and fallen bodies. Planes bombed and reloaded for more attack runs. The sky roared with engines and explosions. Most sailors around him ducked for cover. Miller stood exposed, firing into the inferno like a man who had already decided death would not have him without a fight. When ammunition ran dry, he carried more wounded sailors through burning corridors, water filling the lower decks as the battleship began to sink. Over 100 men were trapped below. Miller helped form human chains to pull sailors out of rising water, lifting men twice his size with brute strength. He pressed shirts against bullet wounds and kept men conscious by speaking calmly, even though every second another explosion threatened to end them all. By mid-morning, the attack slowed, leaving behind over 2,400 Americans dead and nearly 1,200 wounded. Ships capsized, aircraft burned. But survivors would whisper the same story. A black mess attendant had fought the sky and refused to kneel. For weeks after the attack, stories of Miller's courage spread quietly through the Navy, but not in newspapers, not on radio, not in official statements. America was still segregated and heroes were not recognized equally. But the troops remembered. When reporters eventually learned the details, the nation was stunned. The U.S. could not ignore a man who defied enemy fire and racism in the same morning. On May 27, 1942, nearly 6 months after the attack, the Navy awarded Doris Miller the Navy Cross, the second highest honor for valor in combat. He became the first African American in U.S. history to receive it. When Admiral Chester Nimitz placed the medal on his chest in a ceremony aboard the aircraft carrier USS Enterprise, he said, "This marks the first time in this conflict that such high tribute has been made in the Pacific Fleet to a member of his race." But Miller did not want speeches. He wanted every man to be judged by courage, not color. Still, his face appeared in newspapers across America. He became a symbol of black patriotism. Recruitment in the African American community surged. Yet Miller remained humble. When asked why he fought so hard, he simply replied, "I think I just wanted to shoot something." Miller returned to duty, choosing not publicity but service. In 1943, he was assigned to the escort carrier USS Liscombe Bay, tasked with supporting ground forces during the invasion of the Gilbert Islands. On November 24, 1943, while patrolling near Makin Atoll, a Japanese submarine launched a torpedo that ripped into the carrier's ammunition storage. The explosion was catastrophic, lighting the ocean itself on fire. The ship sank in 23 minutes. 644 men were lost, including Doris Miller. His body was never recovered. He was 24 years old. America later honored him by naming schools, memorials, and even a Navy destroyer after him. In 2020, the U.S. Navy announced a new aircraft carrier would bear his name, USS Doris Miller, CVN-81, the first carrier ever named after an enlisted African-American sailor. A man who was once denied the right to hold a gun in service now has one of the world's most powerful warships carry his legacy. Doris Miller was not trained to be a warrior. But warriors are not born in classrooms. They are forged in moments when ordinary souls are asked to do extraordinary things. History remembers him not because he fired a gun, but because he proved a truth stronger than steel. Heroism does not require permission. Pearl Harbor revealed America's vulnerability, but it also revealed its heart, standing tall behind a machine gun, wielded by a cook who refused to bow. His story is not just a war story. It is a testament that courage does not ask for rank, skin color, or approval. It only asks one question: will you stand when others fall? And on the morning of December 7th, 1941, Doris Miller answered louder than any battleship ever could.